Tune in now to the hottest sports podcast, 910 Sports. 910 Sports. We discuss the latest topics in sports, interview the athletes from all over the country, known and unknown, while spotlighting the youth of today and tomorrow with host Icon E, Mr. Personality Jacob the Great, Crystal, a.k.a. Miss Wildfire, KB the Amazing, and Steve-O, a.k.a. Mr. All Everything Georgia.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Icon E. And we're here on 910 Sports, episode number 36. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, I want to thank God for another opportunity to be here, to be able to jump off in this show, and been blessed to be able to have this, to do this thing over the last 36 episodes. So I want to thank you for this opportunity. So what's going on, my man?
What's going on, Icon, man? Good morning, man.
AKA Mr. Georgia Everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said Steve-O, Mr. AKA Mr. Georgia Everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big weekend, Georgia, man. I hate my Hawks went down, but it
is what it is, man. They'll get it back. You know, I think Trey Young take too much slack or whatever for. You know, he had a bad thing. Sometimes you go against a team that they know how to play you. Thing people don't realize sometimes is Michael Jordan early in his career, when he would go against Detroit Pistons, he just couldn't figure them out at first. He had to get himself back in the gym, get himself right, and you know what I'm saying. And eventually he cracked the code and was able to, to get himself past them and then to do what he, of course, we know what his career was. But it's not always easy.
No, especially when you got folks like Spoelstra and a team full of veterans. You know what I mean? They know how to kind of run the game plan he want to run. It ain't easy, man. It just exploited what the Hawks did. I always thought the Hawks were 2 years early when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals anyways. So even when they went last year, I wouldn't really expect it much, but I think they just got to make some free agency moves. The young core is not evolving. I think like the Hawks kind of playing them doing. John Collins is not a max player, so yeah, he got to go, man.
Well, see, in today's NBA too, you got to have more than one, killer. You got to have more than one superstar, or you got to have a superstar and a star. The Atlanta Hawks really don't have a star. They have a bunch of good players. So they don't have anybody that really scares you on a regular basis like that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest problem with the Hawks is they so reliant on him to do everything that, you know what I mean? If you have a team that you can game plan to beat them, then, you know what I'm saying? And that's basically what happens because you can game plan against Trae Young, especially in the playoffs. And that's any team. You know what I mean?
It's more of a half-court game in the playoff, man. So
exactly.
Full court pressing, and then you don't have another real ball handler on the, who can break the press or get past the press. By the time they break the press, give Trae the ball back, it's 9 seconds left on the clock, and at that point, you can play right into the Heat's hand. You want a bad three or a contested shot. So, like I said, man, I think they just need another guard, really, another guard that can come in and play and help break kind of those presses and take some of that pressure off Trae, man. Yeah. The whole Eastern Conference, though, man, kind of went crazy. Now you got Embiid hurt.
So my God! Don't even get me started on that, man. I'm so mad at Doc Rivers right now. And you know what's funny about Doc Rivers' situation? I've said this for years, and people get mad at me because I stay on Doc Rivers' head about the way he, like his coaching style. He don't make adjustments in the playoffs and things he do, and then he tries to make excuses for it. So I read this last night that Doc Rivers said, well, I don't know why y'all get mad at me. If you watch other teams in the playoffs with 3-4 minutes to go in the game, a lot of the coaches don't take their starters out until 3-4 minutes left to go in the game. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Doc Rivers, you gonna sit here and tell me that coaches still had their players get in the game when they up by 30? And he gonna say, well, we wasn't up by 30, we was up by 27 when he made the layup, went up by 29. What? So we gonna be on technicalities now.
That game.
Really, bro? With 4 minutes to go in the game, you gonna say we wasn't up by 30, we was up by 27. Talking about, and last year in the playoffs, you gave up leads. So what does that say about your coaching? If you got 3-4 minutes to go in the game, you up by 27 and give up a 27-point lead in the
Come on, man.
game.
If you scared, if you coaching scared, you coaching scared. You coaching not
coaching high school.
Yeah.
You don't need to be coaching high school then. So I just was like, when he said that made me lose what. Like, I was gonna try to maybe I can get him a benefit of the doubt. Maybe hindsight 2020. But when you made that comment, bro, I was like, really, dude, you've been in this game for too long. You coaching and playing for way too long to understand there's no way that you're giving up a 27-point lead with 3-4 minutes left.
3 minutes left, 4 minutes.
You know how much stuff would have to go right and how much stuff would have to go wrong to give up a 27-point lead with 3 minutes to go in the game. 3-4 minutes to go in the game. You have to completely just act like you just forgot how to play basketball. You could dribble the ball up and down the court for 4 or 5 minutes.
I will say, time-wise, I didn't think that would be possible. Like 3 minutes left, you only have enough time in a 24-second shot clock going up and down to come back. You know what I mean? You go down and get shot clock violation for the rest of the game, and they still don't have enough time to come back.
Yeah, because he talking about, they still had their starters in. They ain't had nothing to do with it. You got enough people on the bench, even if you didn't take all your starters off, but at least take Embiid out. You know what I'm saying? I don't care.
He injury prone now. He was already hurt.
Exactly. So at least take him out. So now they're talking about that he ain't even travel with the team. He's not going to travel with the team to Miami. So we don't even know what this going to look like. And it takes away from everything. The fans looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Just whatever. Like it's a lot, in James Harden. I don't know if we're going to get James Harden from 3 years ago or we're going to get the old James Harden or we're going to get the old James Harden. So which one we going to get? So I don't trust we're going to get the old. Even if we got the old James Harden, hell, if you look at history,
you already know.
We don't even know what that's going to look like. You know what I'm saying?
In the playoffs.
We can get a James Harden who plays good in the first round, or we can get James Harden to choke in the conference finals. So we don't know what that's going to look like. You know what I'm saying? Because really, they've been kind of hiding James Harden. He ain't been getting the pressure put on him because of the fact that Joel Embiid been balling, Tyron Maxey been balling.
Yep.
So he ain't even had the pressure on him to perform yet.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I know everybody was making a big deal about him, showing up in that last game. But I said, but if you look at the floor of the game, he played a good first half, but by the time he turned around, they was blowing him out. That ain't really pressure on him. He put up 22 and 15. That's not, he had a good first half, set the tone. But you think about it, from the first quarter on, he only scored another 12 points. And by the time they got about the end of the third, they was already up by 20. So where's the pressure at to perform? It ain't none. So, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. What's your impression of what happened with the NFL draft? Me personally, I felt like the biggest thing takeaway I took from it was the teams that so-called like the sorry teams, or the teams that's the dweller sellers, or whatever you call it.
I got you.
The biggest thing I took away from them was they kind of stepped up and kind of put themselves in a position to try to become better teams. The Jets, not to say the Eagles are always sorry, but the Eagles did a lot. Detroit Lions, which I have sort of like, I say it's sort of a dog in the fight a little bit, because I got a nephew that played for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know that?
Yeah, Lean McNeil. He's a DT. Oh, yeah, we interviewed him before you came on, before you joined the show. We interviewed him a few months back, like right after the season ended. A couple weeks after the season ended, we interviewed him. But he got drafted last year in the third round. out of NC State.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so he'll start. He'll start and everything. Well, does he? Yeah, he start. Yeah, he'll start.
It should be this year. Oh, that's what's up.
So,
yeah, I'm with you, man. I was kind of shocked at how good the Jets did, man. I see a lot of NFL pundits and a lot of I guess NFL media saying that the Jets had one of the better drafts. Because you got to think they got one of the top quarterback on the board. You got the top wide receiver on the board, top running back on the board, and the top pass rush on the board. And you don't really have to give up too much to get all of those stars at each position. So, yeah, I agree, man. I think the Jets did good. But again, it's the Jets. Like I told somebody, I'm not sold on that coach. You know what I mean? That old coach from San Francisco. I'm not really too sold on him. I'm not really too sure how good he's gonna do. But their GM on paper, drafted pretty good. Like you said, Detroit, man, I was shocked. Detroit did good as well. I think that boy Jameson Williams gonna be crazy good from Alabama, that wide receiver. As long as he come back from that ACL good. So I was impressed, man. I was kind of impressed. The thing that shocked me the most probably was that the quarterbacks, how they feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That was crazy, having Malik Willis sit in the room to the third round and then be the third quarterback taken, after everything was settled. I actually like Atlanta getting that boy Riddle. I think he's the most pro-ready. And then with the coach coming out saying it's going to be an open competition, that Mariota's not guaranteed to start. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Go in there and do some things. He got some wheels on him, too. He got some feet. He can run. He's mobile. So we'll see what we got. He got something way different in the quarterback room than Matt Ryan last year. So.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I was kind of thrown back or kind of surprised that we picked up Sam Howell, Washington.
Yeah, baby, let me tell you something. Sam Howell is a baller. I'm telling you now. I watched him when he came out of high school. He went to high school in North Carolina. So I'm surprised Jacob that y'all haven't. Y'all probably already know him, but he has a legend in high school up there in North Carolina, man. And he was supposed to go to FSU. He changed on them at the last second. And when he changed on FSU at the last second, man, he got Willie Taggart fired. He got the whole FSU program changed. So he was supposed to come in there and be that big of an impact. And I just think North Carolina, I mean, they had Mac Brown, they did good, but it's still North Carolina at the end of the day. When it comes to basketball. Y'all know that. Y'all known for basketball, and y'all a basketball school through and through. I think Sam Howell, if he did go to FSU, he probably would have been a first-round pick, man. So I think y'all probably have one of the steals of the draft, and don't be shocked if that boy beat out Carson Wentz to start. He that good.
What up, Jacob?
What's up, Jacob?
What up, man? What up?
Good morning.
Well, I think the thing that messed Sam Howell up was the thing that messed Sam Howell up was that he lost all his weapons from 1 year to the next. So when he went from his third junior year to the senior year, they was talking about he probably had his. I mean, literally every weapon he had was gone. Like from Dommy Brown to all of them was gone within that 1 year from junior to senior season. Michael Carter, all of them. So he had to adjust on the fly in that 1 year to try to acclimate all those players. And then last year they had a slow start against Virginia. It was all that pressure on him to be, because you got to think he went into the season being the Heisman Trophy candidate. You know what I'm saying, preseason. And what's my man out of Oklahoma, the quarterback out of Oklahoma,
Spencer Rattler. I mean, not Williams.
No, it was Spencer Rattler. It was Spencer Rattler. It was Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, and I forgot who else it was. It was like three quarterbacks that was all underachieved that went into that whole Heisman Trophy thing situation. So the only thing I didn't like about Sam Howell was that he was such a competitor. He threw his body in the line of fire way too much. Like I don't know if it necessarily was him, but they overused him. Like I was like, they don't get this dude hurt. Because I watched him one game where he ran the ball probably about 30 times in one game. And when he runs the ball, he runs the ball like Cam Newton. He's very aggressive, violent with it. I'm like, he a big quarterback, but that ain't going. I said he gonna be like Cam, boy. But then that 18 years, he gonna be looking like he's 40, looking like he's 45, 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm with you because Carson Wentz liable to get hurt, like I was telling Jacob last night. So he liable to get hurt and get an opportunity sooner than later. So you know what I'm saying. So, Jacob, we were just talking about what was your biggest takeaway from the draft?
I just was surprised that ain't nobody draft no quarterbacks higher than they did, man. You know, that was kind of, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what the owners was looking for, or but usually, man, their QB position is drafted really, really high, and I was surprised that Wilson is it Wilson Malik? That's his name.
Malik Willis, yeah.
Willis. I was surprised that he went as low as he did. I think he was like what 83rd pick or 155th pick, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, being the
Yeah,
third quarterback when you
yeah,
predicted to be,
yeah.
at one point.
And I was surprised that they gave your boy from Georgia, number 44. I was surprised they gave him $24 million.
Ooh,
Number one pick.
Yeah, but I mean, usually with the number one picks, man, in the past they haven't got that much money. Well, they have because Lawrence got 36 million. So I mean, but a linebacker don't normally get that much money. I put it like that.
I think they're gonna. I don't know if you mark him as a linebacker or a defensive end because
Linebacker, bro.
He is linebacker.
I think he'll be inside linebacker.
No, not inside, Jake. No, he's a pass rusher. You talking
about Trayvon Walker?
Yeah, Trayvon Walker. He's a defensive end, but he can drop in coverage. So that's how athletic.
But as you know, at Penn State, Michael was a pass rusher. You know what I mean? Parker was a pass rusher. You know what I mean? But they moved him to linebacker. So it just depends on if they already got that pass rusher at that position and where he can fit it. But he's gonna start though. Believe that.
They paid that boy from Atlanta 4-year Lucan like 140 mil to be over the next 6 years to be that middle linebacker. So he probably gonna start at defensive end. I think they run a 4-3, which is kind of like a hybrid 4-3 for them, or over under type situation. So I think he'll play at defensive end where he can put his hand in the dirt and he can drop out in coverage on a linebacker. I mean, on the tight end or running back coming out of the backfield. Man, he's so athletic. It's crazy. He run like a 4-3, 4-4.
Right. I know. Yeah, I know. So.
Okay. Morning. KB, amazing. Crystal, what's going on? How y'all doing?
All right.
You were saying that you was probably gave him 24 million, but I think when it's just like any scale, when you that rookie scale, especially first round draft pick, you got to pay him a minimum or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like a minimum that you can pay a rookie, especially a first round overall draft pick. So basically, whatever they got paid last year as a first rounder, then probably depending on the position and the scale, you got to pay them, a certain amount of money, anyway. So that's probably the minimum they probably could pay him was 24 million. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, because I recall them paying Trevor 36 million.
I don't know if he was a quarterback, how much it would have been. Probably been more than that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Trevor Lawrence got paid 36 million last year. His rookie season.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So we'll be right back. We're gonna take a quick 30-second break. We'll be back here on 910 Sports. We back here on 910 Sports. We was talking about the biggest takeaway from the draft. So KB, what's your biggest takeaway from the draft and what you've seen over the last few days?
Man, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My biggest takeaway is just how kind of deep the talent is getting. Usually, it would be, first 2, maybe 3 rounds, you would get your starter, and then everyone else from there would be like special team guys. Now with the draft, you're seeing guys getting picked up 4th, 5th round that were like studs in college and are expected to potentially, come in and contribute, even unsigned free agents. Like I saw the Cowboys picked up Malik Davis, and it's like, with Malik Davis and Tony Pollard, is there a move to get Zeke out of there? Stuff like that starts to question because you have guys all the way through the 7th round that can ball out. Like they're not scrubs that's getting picked up. So it's just the depth, especially this year. This year, the depth of talent throughout the draft is real. So the kids in college are just better.
So Ken, let me ask you this: was you surprised that a lot of HBCUs got picked up this year more than normal?
No, I think I think what Deion is doing is working, because he brings legitimacy to the cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody's out there and they're just making noise, you're like, all right. But when you have somebody that's the Hall of Fame, well respected amongst, all 32 teams and the sport, when they start to make noise, they're like, yo, you're missing out on good guys. And there's a history there of getting guys. I mean, I think the best one right now, look at Darius Leonard from SC State, like you're missing out on quality guys because you're just not giving them the opportunity. And I think what he's doing is working. Like, I think they maybe 4 or 5 guys. So next year
like
you may
6.
see, so next year you may see more. And I just think it's working.
So with all the HBCUs around, and it's a lot. People know it's a lot, bro.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think that athletes from HBCUs didn't enter the draft? Why wasn't it plentiful athletes from HBCU entering the draft? More so like it has been in the last 10 years versus when I grew up watching football back in the day versus people like when ALT played or Singletary played. But it was some guys that walked on to the NFL, but a lot of them did enter the draft. So why you think that was? Did they not know how to go about doing it, or was it what was the opportunity not broadcasted and given to them?
I mean, I think it's visibility in today's age. Everything is like kind of microwave. Like, they just want to see who's hot and get the numbers and go. And I think that they value a competition. They value a little bit too much sometimes, and they put that way too much. Like they draft guys from SEC because the competition, but it's quality guys all around. Like I think the Patriots may have been like the best to just find quality guys no matter where they were, and I think that's why you didn't see a lot of HBCU guys because they're like, I can get a kid from Florida who played against top-notch talent every week versus going to Bowie State because who do they play? Who are those guys? Are they really that good? So I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Crystal, what you think, Crystal? What was your biggest takeaway from the draft this past week?
That my team sucks. They drafted terribly. Patriots drafted terribly. I like what the Jets did.
They do it every year, though, Crystal.
Huh?
The Jets do that every year, man.
Well, I was about to say that it's still the Jets, but I do like what they did. I thought they drafted really well. Yeah, I didn't like the Patriots though.
I mean, it's funny you say that, Chris, because my boy Jets fan out there, man, I don't want to hear nothing about the New York Jets. Like talking about the Jets, it's just like talking about, about Windex. Spray, wipe off, being nothing.
Oh wow!
That boy Jake is crazy, man.
Hey, I mean,
they said the Raiders drafted pretty good. They had the Raiders on there.
Yeah, they did, man.
The Raiders did good. I like that that guy. I think we got into the trenches. That's Zamir White. When you see that they didn't pick up, Brent Jacobs' contract and Abrams and Cleveland Farrell, it's a question like, they just want to try to get on a cheaper deal. But Zamir White kind of puts that writing on the wall, like, all right, he's up. He may be up for a trade. And Brandon Jacobs is like that. But that contract coming up, who's going? You don't want to pay him. You pay Zamir White. I mean, looking at it, we got a nice offensive guard. To replace some linemen. We went trenches this draft, which at the end of the day you got to have, because look who we play. Like, you got to have guys that can block, guys that are going to be healthy. You need depth.
I thought they're trying to get rid of all them Mike Mayock and John Gruden picks too, bro. They trying to get rid of all them John.
Hey, man,
they get rid of all them people John Gruden brought in.
Hey, just letting y'all know that the trade market is open. We are trading Abraham and Cleveland Farrell. We will take hero subs. We will take slushies. We will take half pack smoked Newports. We will take.
Well, then, you need to be on the phone with Jerry then. For real.
Look, I'm telling you now, Jacob.
You need to be on Jones because Jerry might send a script or two over there. You know what I mean?
Hey, man.
I mean, he might send you a zero return ride more with the trailer hitched. Jerry send you something, bro.
We need something, because them boys ain't did nothing.
And you know, man, Daniel Snyder might send you a free trip to the White House.
Now, Dan Snyder, we can snake something out of them. We can get something nice out of them. He ain't too smart. He think he's gonna make a blockbuster deal.
So
this is what I want to ask Ken, and this is what I want to ask Icon, and this is what I want to ask Steve-O.
Look, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you who really came up, who really impressed me is the Steelers.
I don't know. I can't say that. All the rest of the quarterback went in the third round. They were the only people that jumped the gun. Nobody else jumped the gun. They could have got that quarterback later and got some better clear.
I mean, the Steelers got a lot of wide receivers now. And the Steelers is known for their wide receivers.
No, they not, and they know not to pay no wide receiver. I don't care about the Steelers getting no wide receiver, man.
They not gonna pay Claypool. They not gonna play Deontay. They not gonna pay.
They get rookie wide receivers. Okay, we gonna take it back. The only reason why Hines Warren had a bad time in mind, he said, "Well, I'm gonna retire." It's because the Steelers did them dirty, bro. Did that man so dirty. Steelers do not pay wide receivers. The Steelers don't want to pay nobody but a QB. That's it.
Well, I ain't saying they don't pay them. What I'm saying is they know how to get them in there. Now, what they do with them after 3-4 years, they like the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks can get talent, they just don't keep it. But I'm just saying they get them in there. They get Plaxico Burress, right. They get High Ward, they get top receivers. They just don't know how to keep them. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
I hate that Pickens went there, man. Because I understand the fit. Like, when you look at the size of the QB, he's going to be there to block. He's going to be the second option behind Claypool. And he should have, he would have been perfect for a team like, Dallas. Or
who you talking about?
George Pickens?
Yeah, Pickens. Somebody on the opposite side of Gary Terry. It's a lot of places he could have went to really shine, to be that big, fast receiver, and just been a guy on the opposite side of whoever, and did work, man. I'm surprised he went to the Steelers.
I can't stand the Steelers, man. They make me sick, bro. They don't do nothing but pay quarterbacks, and bro, they just that's the reason why Cowboys got Washington, because he was up. He was up for what it was, 23.7 million. Still didn't want to pay him. The same way Jerry didn't want to pay Amari. Pay that man that $22 million. But, this one thing I'm going to say about Amari, man, and I'm going to keep it always funky, always real. We're going to spend it on the radio. Wiggy, we're going to spend it a little bit. So, but Amari Cooper, bro, didn't show up for a lot of away games. And for me, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they did point that out a lot this past year. Past couple of years, they did point that out.
But Dak ain't won without him, though.
No, that record is horrible without him, and that's fact.
Well, they should have got 50s, man.
Because CD Lamb drops balls like he playing inside a bouncy house. I'm just saying, man.
So what you about to ask us, Jacob? You said you were gonna ask us something.
So, according to you guys, and y'all may be up on it more than I'm up on it, and I'm pretty sure you are. I'm looking at the XFL, and I'm looking at my page, and I'm looking at people just requesting me to interview a few players from there, and I also got a call last night. The wide receiver from Wake Forest, I forgot his name, but me and his cousin out of Boston did some business together back in the day, and he's gonna be coming on the show soon. You know what I mean? But he was drafted by the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he gonna be coming on the show. She said, "I know you're a Cowboys fan, baby boy. I got some for you." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, but the XFL. What do y'all feel about it, and what type of players do they take, and how do they get paid?
Well, they get paid through sponsorships. They're gonna have to get sponsorships and viewership. And me personally, I wouldn't go for the I go for the TV contracts, but I would try to get it on an app where because everybody got one of these in their hand or close by now. So if I can get you to watch it on here instead of having you to go to a TV, I think that's a better outlet for me personally.
But they do got a new contract with ESPN too. A huge deal.
So they can be on the ESPN app. That's cool. That's a start. You got to get off ABC. You got to get off Fox. You got to get on somewhere where there's an app like ESPN.
And they gonna have a contract with Hulu Sports and with some other sports network, man. That's on the app, Hulu Sports, and
well, see, that's to me, that's the first thing. You got to get the
Pluto TV. Pluto TV.
Okay, so by you saying that, so you think that NFL next year, this coming up season, that Thursday night game's gonna be on Amazon Prime. So you think that's a better look for the NFL?
No,
I think they get better viewership on Thursdays than they have because you don't have to
being on Amazon Prime.
You don't have to be on TV. As long as I can hit it on their phone, you good.
I don't particularly, Steve-O, like when I gotta watch something I've been watching my whole life on a damn Amazon Prime, man.
Well, more than half of your life has been when TVs were on the floor, Jacob. That's different.
No, it ain't, bro. But
different. TVs up on the wall now. They skinny.
That makes no sense, though. To me, that makes no sense. Like Amazon Prime is not Amazon Prime is not a major network, bro. It's a sub network. It's not a major network.
I don't like having to subscribe to something.
Yeah, you get out of here, man. Take that digital shit and get out the door.
Yeah. For the XFL, they shouldn't do that. They should just have an app for it. They shouldn't have a subscription. That's what I was saying. They should have an XFL app that you can.
Well, since it's like that, if you subscribe, get a free bank account with Regis Bank. I mean, like, get out of here, bro. Like, put that thing on TV,
I'm kind of with Jacob on this one because you got to think a lot of football fans are like me and Jacob's age. I think their fan base is more our age, and to a certain degree. So I'm like, you start making us be like, what? We got to do this to get to watch football? Like,
I didn't say take it off. I didn't say take it off TV.
I won't be watching it.
I just think it's
if they put that thing on Amazon Prime. All right.
It ain't no if. The contract been signed, sealed, delivered.
I guess I'll be watching the NFL Network highlights and jot some things down for the show, and that's about it. I won't watch it, bro.
Matter of
like I
fact,
got
the first game or the second week of the season, they already announced was supposed to be the Chargers versus the Chiefs because matter of fact they announced it during the draft. Like the first day of the draft, they had brought the people, so a couple of people that worked over there, or I guess helped put the deal together. They had announced it the first day of the draft. You know what I'm saying? They brought them on
yeah,
stage.
I don't like that because like I got Amazon Prime, but Amazon Prime doesn't come with live TV, so that's like something else you got to pay for to get access to live
See.
TV.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't
And
even know that.
so when you do that, you're taking away a lot of watchers. Like a lot of people have cable, so a lot of people will be able to turn to ESPN, NFL Network, stuff like that, and watch the game. But when you tell somebody that you have to go to this app,
Oh yeah.
and it's just a. I mean, I
So
understand if they would have put it on there as well, like
Yeah, that's what I said. Do it as an addition.
but if
Don't
you're
just
making it
put it
exclusive,
primarily on the app.
no,
Nah, I
it's
wouldn't
not.
do that. I wouldn't ever do that. I wouldn't ever take it off the traditional TV because, like you said, you're gonna have traditional people that normally used to going to the same channel, same time, got a routine with that. So I would never take it off of traditional TV and just strictly go to it out. I'm just saying, as far as the XFL, I think if they want to succeed, you're gonna have to give people that flexibility.
well. So I see that the USFL is on TV a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on FS1.
Yep, and
Yeah.
Fox. They're
Mhm.
all over Fox. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm just looking because they're promoting both of them hard. The you
yeah,
know the USFL and the XFL, like they got so many commercials on different networks, on Hulu, on TV, Tubi TV, on Pluto TV. They got commercials that they promote these things hard, bro.
Well, see,
yeah.
my thing is the problem with that is they should have just put the USFL and the XFL together. That's way too much separate football. You don't got that
No,
many
no,
teams.
they ain't gonna do that, bro. They ain't gonna do that. They ain't
You know
gonna
what I
do that
mean?
because
That's way too much football.
but but, but
No,
Yeah, I
because
said, when are
because
they going to play? That's what I was going to ask. When would the XFL actually play? Because you're not going to play between September, between when the preseason start to the end of the Super Bowl. You're not going to play because you're not going to get no ratings. So when would the XFL?
from what I hear, they'll play through the week, like on Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday nights, so they can get ratings.
I don't know. That's just overkill to me.
Yeah,
They should
I
just
mean,
put the
No,
two leagues
no,
together.
no. I can't because you still got young people that ain't make it to the NFL or the USFL.
now,
They still got a way to get paid, man.
I
You
get
know what I
that,
mean?
but I'm saying they should have put the USFL only got 8 teams. XFL had about 18. You could have just put them two leagues together.
or
You know
they
what I'm saying?
do
I think
versus.
people, yeah, you might have to see like an interleague type thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
think keeping them separate, the USFL people probably didn't want to get with the XFL people because remember the XFL just went under the year before, like for
Yeah.
the third time. So
But
it's
that
like
was because of COVID. They
Yeah,
was
I think
they was
COVID
doing
really
I
real
hit
mean,
good
that
before
time. They
COVID.
COVID,
had some good
but COVID,
ideas,
and
man.
they
They had,
didn't have the money to pay guys like that. So I think this time the business is right.
yeah, The
I
Rock
mean, I
ain't gonna
like
go for
being
no bullshit. The
yeah.
Rock ain't going for no bullshit. I'm just
Right.
telling you
And
that.
I like access to different football. I like it being the opposite time of the NFL. So that gives me some football to watch. And it gives the guys way more opportunity because now you don't have to go to Canada and play a whole different rule set. You can, play within the rule set. The guys can watch you, evaluate you. And it just gives options. Like, sometimes you want to watch, a comedy, but you don't want to watch The Office. You want to watch something else. I think it just gives you another thing because no other football is going to like blow up to the point where it's like, oh man, this is like NFL. Like no, it
Yeah.
just gives the fan base, the time to scratch that itch. You know what I'm saying? And that's all it is. It's just for us to scratch that itch, evaluation, and guys get opportunity. And like you said, just watch some football. I don't think it's ever gonna eclipse or even get close to actual NFL ball
No,
as
no.
far as attention.
Well, we'll
Wow.
be back. We'll be back here in 30 seconds. Here on 910 Sports. We're gonna take a quick 30-second break. Okay, we back here on 910 Sports. We're discussing a lot about with this draft and everything. Now, I was talking earlier before y'all had came on here. I was talking a little bit about the playoffs, and me and Steve was talking. And my biggest thing, and now Crystal, I want to get your opinion on this. Like Doc Rivers, oh my, Doc Rivers is like he's one of those coaches I try to root for, but Doc Rivers does some of the most. Doc Rivers makes mistakes, and he's so arrogant about why he made the mistake.
Yep.
And so Joel Embiid gets hurt in the game with 4 minutes to go, and they up by 30. And I'm reading on it last night, and he has the nerve to say, "Oh well, we wasn't up by 30, we was up by 27." What? And he's like, if you look at other teams in that same scenario, they started still be in the game with 4 minutes to go, up by 30. So I'm like, bro, just admit to you, like, you might have should have took them out earlier or whatever, or just stand on your decision. But to try to throw it on something else, or to try to make a technicality out of it that it was up by 27 instead of 30, then this what really made you look bad. When he said, well, last year we blew 2 leads in the fourth quarter. If you blow a 27-point lead with 4 minutes to go in the NBA, you don't need to be called coaching Little League. You don't need to be coaching doggone Pee-wee basketball. You don't need to be coaching outside in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? If you blow a 27-point lead in the fourth quarter. So Crystal, you there?
I'm listening.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on all this? Because he just made me just almost. He made me just like lose all respect for him with that comment.
Well, one, he's overrated. I think he's come around to kind of being overrated now. Yeah, and he's arrogant too. And you're right. If you blow a 27-point lead with 4 minutes left, you probably shouldn't be coaching anyway, because that's ridiculous. But they just have the most unfortunate, like Embiid, and I know you was talking about CP3 earlier. Like they just have the worst playoff luck. And that's even more reason to take him out. Plus, he already messed his thumb up. He already may have to have surgery in the off season for his thumb or whatever. You should have took him out just off of that, to make sure he don't get, that he doesn't get injured any further than that. So yeah, it was just stupid for him to be in the game, and you just have to call it stupid. Like that's just what it was. And now they don't really have a chance unless he can come back. And it's, he got to wear wear the mask and all of that. But if he can't come back, they're definitely done.
Well, I see you shaking your head, Jacob. What you think? What's your comment on this?
Listen, man, this dude must got a rabbit foot in his pocket because he had more chances than anybody, bro. I don't know no coach ever had that many chances from team to team, and he just can't get it right. So make me think he's some kin to my man on life. Can't get right because he can't get right, bro. He can't get right at all. So Doc Rivers, oh man, I don't even think he should have a head coaching job. Period, bro. Period.
I've been over Doc Rivers for a minute, or whatever. Yeah, KB, what's your opinion on this? Because I've been over Doc Rivers. Oh, you on mute? Hold on, your mute button on. Go ahead.
I think, like Crystal said, man, I think he's overrated. I think, maybe that Clippers team made him look a little bit better than he was. He just benefited from some good players, and ever since then, it's just been like downhill, man. Like I don't know what's going on with him, but clearly he must not be that good. Like having Embiid and having any of your starters in there at that point of the game is just dumb. It's just dumb, and so something like that happens with Embiid. But it's like every year since he got there, there's always something that happens. Just be like, why'd you come on, man? So there's just been another one.
Well, he was kind of overrated with Boston, because you got to think them guys were self-motivated. Kevin Garnett, one of the best leaders we ever seen in basketball history. You know what I'm saying? Paul Pierce was hungry to get a title. Ray Allen was the ultimate veteran player, and Rondo kind of was like an overachiever early in his career. Like he kind of like came out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying, to be the player he was. So I think a lot of that was more. If any team that how when Kyrie Irving made that statement, we don't need a coach. If any team didn't really need a coach that you would ever say that about, it was that Boston team. That Boston team was so self-motivated, especially those top 4 players, that I think that Doc Rivers benefited from having, especially the veterans. He benefited from having those 3 guys more than anything to make him look like, because they should have, if you think about it, they should have won more than one title. I know they got the 2 of them, but they should have won that run. They should have won at least 2, at least. You know what I'm saying? With that team they had, and then they had some great veterans, James Posey. I mean, they had some. I think they even had, was Eddie House on that team? One of those teams.
Yeah.
So they had some great bench players. So they should have won more than one title.
Well, they was right there to get 2, but remember, Perkins got hurt. Remember, they played the Lakers again, so they were right there to win it again. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Perkins.
So let me ask y'all a question then. So, and speaking of old Kyrie Irving, and I don't know if y'all heard the statement that he made with who the funniest person on TV to me is, that dog Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has got to be the funniest dude on earth, because first of all, Stephen A. Smith make it seem like people are actually scared of him.
Stephen A. Smith got the chicken forehead like people.
Stephen A. is like one of the worst people to give that attention to, because he gonna run with it, boy. He gonna run with that attention. Sometimes he's got to ignore the people like that, man. Him and Skip, bro.
You know, it's funny when he said, I'm gonna say now what I'm about to say tomorrow on the show. You know what I'm saying? This is not the words of ESPN or Molly or whatever, and I'm not even gonna apologize for what I'm about to say, and it's about to be ugly. Then he comes on the next day, he basically just says his basic telling Kyrie Irving how he feel. I'm like, bro, you ain't even really say nothing that nobody else already don't know. But I mean, the whole thing with Kyrie Irving,
he's so dramatic, man. Stephen A. Smith's so dramatic. He's so dramatic, bro.
That's how he makes his money.
Yeah, I know, man. And man, he just, like you was always saying Kevin Durant the best player in the world, and now you got so much to say about Kevin Durant. Stephen A. Smith, sit down, drink a Pepsi, eat a cream donut, and shut your ass up.
Yeah, because I'm just like with Kevin, because I was like, when they're talking about Kyrie Irving basically, dogging the media out and all this other stuff, and I'm like, I've never seen, like, I know y'all keep saying how talented he is.
Why he look so old, man?
Who?
Kyrie.
I don't. Maybe he trying to look like.
Why do these? Hey, Chris. Let me ask you a question from one perspective. Why do these young boys in the NBA look old like that, man? Like, they look old, man. Like Kevin Durant, man. Kevin Durant look like he should have played on Life, man. Like the movie, like man.
Hey, man.
They look old, bro. Hey, that's just these young boys, period. Because I was watching, what was I watching? And I think I was watching the college. I was watching the seniors play. You know how they had a little all-star game and dunk contest and stuff. And I said, these jokers right here look like they already like they 10th year in the league.
That's that AAU aging them out. That's what it is.
No, man. I don't know what the AAU are. I don't know, man. But these dudes be looking old, man. I'd be like, hold up, bro. Like,
but this is the thing, though, because everybody thought people thought I was trying to be funny a little bit about Ben Simmons. But I really truly believe I was gonna get on Ben Simmons' head, but I really truly believe Ben Simmons really need to like sit down a whole year, just walk away from the team and go get some real professional help. Because
I was just about to say that, man. I really think that despite his talent, despite everybody cracking jokes, man, about Ben Simmons has me worried about his mental state, man. He really does, man. Like, like that really makes no sense what he does, man. So it's got to be something there mentally, man. And I just hope the brother get help for real.
Yeah, because Because my thing is to be that talented, and then you do everything you can, like not to play basketball and whatever. And that last game of the final season of the playoffs last year really messed Ben Simmons up that bad. I really think that he need to get the help. But anyway, man, this morning I'm gonna let you introduce your man Jacob. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited about this interview after reading up on his brother, and I'm gonna let you introduce him this morning. How you doing, sir?
What's happening, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's
Good.
good? What's good? What's good, Anthony, man? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I
Welcome to
can't
the
complain.
Nine. Good, good. Welcome to the 901 Sports Podcast, man. Hosted by Icon E, joined by myself and KB Amazing, and Miss Wi-Fi, and also Steve O, the coach, which should be joining us soon again. Man, we talk about wrestling all the time, and
Mhm.
we talk about the levels of being a wrestler. And I brought you on because I want you to know, as far as into all the type of bouts you done been in, the championships you done won, and becoming pro and stuff like that, man. I just wanted to know what was the process for you, and why was you into it at a young age, and just made that dream come reality. So I just want to know your story about you being a wrestler.
Okay, no problem. My journey with wrestling started as a child. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So, my earliest wrestling memories were getting up Sunday morning with my father reading the New York Post in the bed, and me sitting in front of the TV watching USA All American Wrestling on Sundays. And so I would watch wrestling because he was into wrestling too. Like anything my father was into, I watched. So I always have a love for combat sports. Even today, I'm an MMA enthusiast, even though he didn't live to see MMA actually become a sport. But nonetheless, I still like combat sports. But anyway, not to move too far from what we're talking about. Um, I liked wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling, and a lot of times when I watch wrestling or TV in general, I used to always want to see people that look like me because wrestling, for the most part, was just a lot of white people. But being that I lived up north, the WWE had a lot of ethnic characters. So you had Chief J Strongbow, you had Tito Santana, you had Polish Power, Ivan Putski, and the guys that gravitated toward me, or that I gravitated toward, were three guys in particular: Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson, and Jimmy Superfly Snooker. Those were my guys. And so when I saw Atlas and Johnson win the tag team belts when I was real little, I was like, man, I got to be a champion one day. And then I saw Snooker jump off the top rope, and I was like, man, I got to jump off the top rope one day. Maybe I get a chance to do it. So life happened, and my father passed away when I was 16, but I kept on, just living and stuff like that. Went to college, got a job and everything. And so one day there was a local show in town, like a local wrestling show. So they had guys in there that were doing their thing and all that kind of stuff. But these guys were like, I saw one guy like 5'6" and one guy like 5'8", and I'm like 6 feet tall, 6'1" with a good pair of shoes on. And I'm like, I'm bigger than these guys, so I probably can do what they do. So what I did, I talked to the promoter and asked him about training, and he was just like, just come to one of the shows before we get started. And so I did. I went to one of the shows, and I told him, I was like, I want to be a referee just to get my feet wet. So I did the referee thing for about 2 years. All the while I was actually training with one of the wrestlers, and he was showing me moves and everything. And so when I got ready to make my debut, the organization folded. And
Mm.
within like a year, another organization ran by the same people came to be. So I started refereeing there. And the way I got to be a wrestler is there was a tag team title match one night, and one of the challengers didn't show up. So the promoter came to me and he was like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah," you know, not knowing what's going to happen. So he put me in a tag team title match, and we wound up losing. But they were impressed with what I could do because I was very green. This is my first match. I'd never had a match before. So when I got the wrestling bug, I was just like, man, I got to keep on doing this. I got to keep doing it. I got to keep getting better. So the guy that was training me left the sport altogether. So I couldn't get any more training. Excuse me. And so what I did, I go to shows, and before shows started, I would, get in the ring with like the veterans and have them show me stuff. And every time I did that, I learned a little more. I learned a little more. I kept wrestling like that um for a while. My first year in wrestling, I actually there was a website in Georgia that looked at all of the independent wrestlers in Georgia, and I wound up winning that website's Rookie of the Year award. So me winning that award opened up a lot of doors as far as promotions and stuff. Eventually, I met a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, Clyde Haynes, and he and I started, doing shows and stuff. And he introduced me to a guy that a lot of people may remember as Hugh Morris from WCW, Bill DeMott.
Mm-hmm.
Bill DeMott actually was the head trainer at the WWE Performance Center. And so eventually they wound up letting him go. So when they let him go, he came to McDonough, Georgia, and started a wrestling school. And it was in the MMA gym section of a Gold's Gym in McDonough, Georgia. So I'd go up there 2, 3 days out of the week, and he would just put me through just drills. A lot of people think wrestling is just move after move after move, but there's so much conditioning that goes into it. And for 3 hours straight, he just conditioned the hell out of us. Like we were doing all kind of stuff, a lot of high intensity training. So I took what I learned from him to actually, just go and travel throughout Georgia and wrestle and stuff. Um, Time passed and I got a couple of good looks. TNA Wrestling was doing their gut check. And so it was suggested to me by the late Jimmy Rave, rest in peace, Jimmy Rave, that I apply to TNA to see if I could get a gut check chance. So I applied and they sent me a letter, was like, congratulations, come down to Canton, Georgia. We want you for TNA's gut check. So I'm all excited and everything. And so about 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to gut check, I was actually traveling to a show about an hour away from my house. And so unfortunately I wound up getting rear ended by a distracted driver. And when that happened, I wound up, with a little bit of whiplash. I had my neck in a brace and stuff. But, I was okay because I just had a little bit of the whiplash going to the chiropractor and he wouldn't clear me. So I actually missed that chance because somebody hit me. And
Mm.
so on top of that, I also got a look from a casting agent for WWE Tough Enough. And so she sent me stuff and she was like, we heard about you. You got a great look. We'd like to have you on WWE's Tough Enough. So I told Bill about it. I'm like, Bill, they sent me an email saying they want me on Tough Enough. And he was like, okay, when you do, make sure you let them know that I'm your trainer. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking I got to end, because he's my trainer. Come to find out, within that time, he wound up shutting the school down. And I never heard anything from the Tough Enough casting agency. I looked up and he was on the show when it first premiered. So the thing is, I think they didn't choose me because with him being a trainer, they figured it would be a conflict of interest, and then I would have an advantage over the people that were actually going to be there because all these other people didn't have any wrestling experience at all. But with me knowing the way he trained and everything, it probably looked like, if I go there, then I'm just a shoe in. And I guess they wanted to kind of level the playing field. So I was like, all right, cool. Life happens. But as far as I still took the knowledge that he gave me, and I still use it to this day to just wrestle and go, all over wherever I can. As far as matches I've been in countless steel cage matches, a few hardcore matches. One of the fondest memories I have in wrestling, we had a cage when you put it on the ring. At the top, it was 18 feet. I jumped off the cage on it like a bunch of people. So I used to always do a lot of stuff like that, just crazy stuff, but nothing too serious that would injure me because most of my matches happened on the weekend and I had to go to work Monday morning. So I had to make sure I was safe. So but regardless, I've had a lot of those matches. As far as championships I've won, I have had a total of 10 title reigns throughout my career. I've won one tag team championship. As far as the organization down here, which is the Georgia Independent Wrestling Alliance, they haven't run consistently in about 2 or 3 years. But when they were running, I still have a record that stands to this day. I've held that championship 4 times, which is more than anybody. longest mid-state champion of all time. One of the few people to win its Triple Crown. I've won championships throughout the state of Georgia, as far as like southern the southernmost parts of Georgia, North Georgia, different places. Um, and Yeah, I mean that's just about it for me. I have had the pleasure of sharing the ring with quite a few people. I've shared locker rooms with some guys you may see in WWE. I came up in the business with Austin Creed or Austin Watson, who's known in WWE as Xavier Woods. Um, I knew him when he first got started. Jonathan Gresham, he, Austin, and I used to be in the same locker room all the time. Jonathan Gresham is the current Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. Um, I've been in locker rooms with Al Snow, Jeff Jarrett, EC3. On that same show, I was with them. I wound up wrestling Gunner, who was known as Jackson Riker in WWE. I've had matches with WWE legend and trainer of champion Mr. Hughes, who has a very extended professional wrestling legacy, especially down here in the Peach State, where he has trained people like Jonathan Gresham, like WWE referee Antron Brewer, and so many others. The recently released, he goes by Sam Shaw now, but the guy that was had the storyline marriage to Indy Hartwell, he trained him. So yeah, that's pretty much my wrestling
Right.
history
Okay, well,
in a
so
nutshell.
we're gonna take a quick break, and because I got some questions I want to ask you about your acting career, because
Okay,
you've done something when I seen on your resume that I really want to ask you about. So we'll be
okay,
back here in 30 seconds on 910 Sports.
all right.
Okay, we back here on 910 Sports. We're here with Anthony Velvet Hall, professional wrestling and accomplished champion. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions because I seen your resume in acting, and before I know we're gonna get into how you got into acting, but I wanted to ask you this before we even moving forward.
Okay.
So one of my favorite shows to watch is Fatal Attraction. So I watched probably almost every episode of that over the last several years. How did you get into that? Like, what was that? What was that whole thing like? Because I always intrigued by how that whole. I know it's like a reenactment of because you're not talking, you just kind of your body motion and what you're doing more like on a physical level, like as far as like people the way people have to perceive what you're thinking and all that kind of stuff. What what got you into that part, and then how was that like? And kind of explain the episode that you were in.
Um, I just went into like I already had some just acting chops and stuff, so I had done background roles and then I'd done some principal roles in independent film. So just mingling with some of the people I'd done work with, I had a friend of mine and he told me, he said, well, send a letter to Jupiter Casting. And so I did. I looked up Jupiter Casting on the internet and I found their website and I applied for the role. And so I had applied for like Fatal Attraction twice before I actually got the role for different episodes. And the thing that they do, they usually look at it, they take what you look like now and see if you look like the person that's supposed to be the person you're playing to match up. And a couple of times, the first time I did it, I don't think I looked like the person that they wanted me, that they were featuring. So the third time was the charm. I sent them something, and this was, I want to say New Year's. Well, this was like late 2018 that I sent in the resume and all that. So they sent me something. They was like, send us a picture of what you look like right now. Just take a selfie and send it to us. So I sent it to them. And so they sent me something back and they were like, all right, you're what we're looking for. And they sent me this whole itinerary. They paid me, they paid for my hotel. And so they sent me all the dates I'd be working. Because when I did Fatal Attraction, I worked I worked just 2 days. But I've been on shows where the same company, that's the same company that produces Snapped and ATL Homicide and Murder Chose Me. And so I've worked for them before where I've done like a whole week long stretch, but this time I only did like 2 days. So um they have something that they call either sound up or sound down when they have these shows. Sound up means you actually will be speaking. And I've been fortunate enough to do sound up. So when I got Fatal Attraction, every time I've done it, because I just got finished doing another one like 3 weeks ago. And they actually sent me a script. So I did have some lines that I had to read. So I did read the lines, and of course you got to put a little body English and a little of yourself into it so it doesn't sound like you're reading from a script or whatever. But um when you did it, you just had to really read and get direction from the directors because they have a certain behavior that they want you to portray when you're doing it. So that was pretty much what I did. And I did it for 2 days. We worked a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Early Thursday morning, I was back on the road coming back to Georgia because the film's in Tennessee. And so it with those kind of shows, it depends on who you're playing because prior to doing Fatal Attraction, I did an episode of a show that just recently got canceled probably a couple years ago called Murder Chose Me. And I was actually the killer in the show. This is my first time actually doing it. That's the one when I stayed a week up in Tennessee. And so going up there
Fatal Attraction, not to cut you off, Fatal Attraction, was you the killer or was you one of the suspects?
The first time I was a killer. The second time I'm like a friend of one of the people that's involved in the crime.
Okay.
So when I did Murder Chose Me, with me going to a strange place, not knowing anybody, the director pulled me to the side and he was like, "You don't know anybody here. You're going to be a killer. So we need you to be brooding. We need you to be angry. And what we need you to do is not have any contact with anybody. And just think about something that pisses you off." And I had to do that for a week. I had to just be mad for a week just to do this show. So, but that's what I did though. And yeah, I mean, it's always fun to do. It's because I like to travel, and especially when I do my acting, I like to travel out of town and do acting. It's always fun to say, I've acted in Tennessee or Florida or Carolina. I want to go to Cali and do some stuff out there, but until then, I get a kick out of just being able to travel and do it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just interested in that to see how that process worked. Crystal, you got any questions?
I do. At what age did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling at 29.
And how much did wrestling help your acting career?
It helped me out a lot when I really got to understand wrestling as a whole, because a lot of people think wrestling is just doing moves, but we tell a story. And we can't always tell a story just by moving our arms or throwing moves and stuff, because if you do it too much, you lose people. People are sitting on their hands if they just see you jumping all around the ring and all that kind of stuff. You got to do something in the middle of a match to grab the fans' attention. So that's why sometimes you'll see a match slow down and guys holding on to holds and the fans getting into it and everything, because it's athletic, but it's a performance art too. So once I really was able to gauge how to grab the fans' attention and hold it, that helped me out a whole lot in acting, because now I start learning about facial expressions. Like if you're really close to the action and you see how I look, you can see worry, you can see anger, you can see fear, you can see frustration. You can tell so much of a story just by using your face. It's ridiculous. So once I learned how to do that, then I could apply that to acting, and it helped me out a whole lot.
And did you always want to be an actor?
No, I didn't. It was just something I kind of fell into, honestly. I just, just looking at what I was doing as far as wrestling goes, wrestling can be kind of shady sometimes, in the sense that I was a guy who was spending a lot of time working out, eating right, eating at certain times, going to sleep at a certain time and everything, so I can go to a locker room and try to be the best person I could be for whatever organization I was wrestling for. Unfortunately, the people in charge of wrestling organizations who book the matches aren't always doing what they do for the purposes of making the organization better. And a lot of them don't train as hard as I do or do the things I do. So when I come into a locker room, their ego tells them this is a big, strong guy, who looks good with his shirt off. At best, all he can do is just make me look good so I can be the star, So I had to go and deal with a lot of that. And to work so hard throughout the week and be in control of all the things that got me to build my body up to a certain point, only to go to a show and just have somebody cut me down and just put me in a box, just really made me kind of drift away from wrestling and say, you know what, I can apply these skills to something else. That's what led me to acting.
Okay.
What about Steve? You got anything?
Hey man, how you doing? Sorry, I had technical difficulties. Dropped off.
You good, man?
Man, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, man. I've been a wrestling fan since I was born. Watching little kids, we don't watch it with my grandma and granddad when I was Saturday night. Watching Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair go at it, the Steiner brothers.
Right.
And all the way down to my son, me and my son, and he watching the Usos and watching Roman Reigns. Checking it out now. If you had to put up your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, if you coming with, I want to know it. Who you got?
Mount Rushmore pro wrestling. My personal Mount Rushmore would be, first and foremost, got to be Ric Flair.
Yes, sir.
Got to be Ric Flair. Ric Flair got to be number one. His legend is crazy. It's a lot of people. WWE is the biggest thing on TV right now, but it's so many guys that have passed through WWE who have had success and some who haven't had success that have had all kind of success in like the NWA and WCW that people don't really know about. And you had to be there to just really understand how monumental that success is. So Ric Flair, definitely got to be number one. Number two, I would have to say The Rock. Because for me, he is the biggest transitional star in wrestling. He's been successful at wrestling. He's been like one of the most successful, highest grossing actors of all time. So as far as a wrestler becoming successful on both ends, it's got to be The Rock for me. Number three, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna throw a curve in, but I'm gonna say Sherry Martell, Sensational Sherry. And the reason I say that is because at a time when a lot of people, she started off as a wrestler, then she transitioned into a manager. And then when she became a manager, she wasn't just a manager who stood at ringside and hit the mat and come on. Like, she was taking blows. Yep. I've seen her get press slammed by the Ultimate Warrior, get clotheslined by Dusty Rhodes. So she was probably one of the most extreme females out there. And I'm glad she's finally getting the credit she deserves, but they talk about a women's revolution and stuff like that. You can't talk about that without talking about Sherry Martell. Bottom line. And number four, this is a tough one. Mount Rushmore wrestling, man, I would have to say, and it might rub some people the wrong way, but I'm just gonna be real with you. A guy who does not get the credit he deserves, and that's Booker T.
Oh no, you ain't rubbed me wrong. I go with that.
I'm gonna say Booker T. And the reason I say Booker T is not just because he's an African American man and stuff like that, and he was greatly successful in WCW, but to me, after WWE bought WCW, no wrestler had as much success in WWE as Booker T did.
Yeah.
No wrestler did. He has, his WWE resume alone is Hall of Fame worthy. But then you add that to all the stuff he did in WCW. And this is a guy who got into wrestling simply because his brother was a wrestler. He really didn't want to do it. He was a break dancer and a drum major. He
went to prison for armed robbery. And then when he got out, his brother was, and then he said, "Hey man, come on, do this." Like you said, he was break dancing. And then he said, "Come on, man, do this." And look at him now, man. And yeah, I agree with you. Booker T was one of the people who came from WCW to WWF, and you really got to see him shine. Whereas a lot of guys, they were given, dark matches and them jobber jobs, and but they actually used Booker, man, and Booker stuck with it. I think his biggest role when he broke through, him and Stone Cold, that story, they was in that supermarket fighting. That really would show Booker's versatility for him after that, man. So no, I agree with you on Booker, man. He definitely would be one of my top four guys. So, another question I have for you: watching back in, and how would you compare, say, fans of the '80s and '90s wrestling to the fans that you have now?
The fans of the 80s and 90s were more invested in wrestling because we didn't have dirt sheets.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
yeah.
I think dirt sheets, because I mean, like, I'm gonna tell you something. When they first started doing like spoilers and dirt sheets, I was in college, and so I was all into it, man. When you can get access to all that kind of stuff, because I used to be in all kind of stuff like wrestlers' real names and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, this guy's name is this, that, and whatever. I used to be like, wow, this is crazy. Then you hear about the news, and when you first hear that, it's always cool to be like the first one to tell it. Like, yeah, I got the scoop. I'm telling you this, I'm telling you that. As you get older and as you start to get a little more into your fandom as a wrestler, you realize how the element of surprise plays such a big role in people just loving wrestling. Like, if I think a lot of times the Royal Rumble gets ruined by people who stand outside the hotel and go, "Oh man, this person's in the hotel. This person doing that. This person doing that." And so now, and that happens in WWE and AEW. So now I personally drift a lot towards the smaller organizations where you ain't got to hear all that. So I'm into.
Bring
I'm a
on.
big fan of a Ring of Honor, the National Wrestling Alliance. I love NWA Power and NWA USA, Major League Wrestling. I love watching them because now from that it's just like I don't know what's gonna happen. I want to sit down and be entertained by the match without having somebody 2 or 3 hours ago saying, okay, well, I know how this match is going in and I know who's coming here and I know who's gonna run in and all that kind of stuff. So the element of surprise has always entertained me about pro wrestling. But because fans are so eager to be the first ones to tell what they know, they kind of ruin it. So I think the fans of the 80s and 90s were much better fans than the fans of today.
Okay. I definitely part when it comes to that the fandom. It do take away some that come tell me what's about to happen before. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, hell, what's the point of me sitting here watching it? You know already
Right.
about to happen. So I think the WWE does trying to keep that. Some of that stuff they keep on the wraps. Watch it, man. What do you think about that forbidden door conversation when you talk about opening up programs or letting some of the Ring of Honor people come over to the WWE and Mickey James coming in and she wrestling at WrestleMania when she is signed up on the Ring of Honor? How do you feel about that?
I think that's a good thing. If to me it shows that WWE finally gives a damn about the entire sport instead of themselves. Because for a long time, I mean, like, I've been a wrestling fan since the 80s. And so I remember when I used to read Pro Wrestling Illustrated and The Wrestler and all those magazines back in the day. And those magazines were always, it seemed like they catered toward like the NWA and AWA and territories and stuff when it wasn't always true. They did cover WWE, but WWE was so focused on just keeping their product in house, they had their own magazine and they wouldn't allow their wrestlers to talk to these magazines and stuff like that. So you just had to kind of get what you could. That kind of faded away in the 90s. And now, some WWE wrestlers are saying, okay, well, we can talk to these fans because, you got the WWE universe, but the world is a whole lot bigger than the WWE universe. And now that they realize that, it's easy for them to say, okay, well, we're going to have these wrestlers talk to these people, not just because of the size of the world, but because we trying to sell our product to the world. So we got to get in these new markets, so not everybody that's in the world is a WWE fan. So we can tap into these new markets and get more business. As far as the forbidden door goes, it's pretty much kind of like the same thing, but Tony Khan has made it very clear that what he does is wrestling. It's not sports entertainment. He doesn't try to change it because sports entertainment is a way for WWE to just simply brand their product and try to make it seem different because that's their whole thing, branding and marketing, everything they do. You see, they've taken a lot of people who've used their names in the independent wrestling and have just wiped them away so that they
Yeah.
can give them exclusive WWE names, and that's all for branding purposes. But the forbidden door, I think is the potential for it is so big. I really don't think you should just have one night. Like, you could have something that mirrors WWE access throughout the course of a week. That could easily be a 2-night show with some, fan fest or something throughout the week. So I think it's good. For me, it's just going to be about the execution.
Yeah.
That's just basically it.
Okay. Well, before we go on, we're gonna take a quick 30-second break, and we'll be back. KB, you can ask your question. We back here on 910 Sports with accomplished wrestler, actor Anthony Velvet Hall. You know what I'm saying? They said it like that back in the day, but Anthony
Yeah,
Velvet Hall. But yeah, so we're gonna ask KB. Hey, KB, you got any questions for my man?
Yeah, man. Like Steve-O said, I was a kid of the sport as well, man. I worship wrestlers. Like when I found out that it was when that F dropped to an E, I think I shed a little tear, man. um, so how do you think that changed the perception of wrestling when it went from WWF to them having to acknowledge like, okay, this is more just entertainment and went to the WWE?
Um, the backstory behind all that is, pretty deep. For the most part, it all kind of starts back with WWE trying not to be regulated by like the New Jersey State Athletic Commission. And so they would come up there and they would do big shows and stuff in the Meadowlands and make all this money, and a lot of people want to regulate it. But to stop that from happening, Vince McMahon broke an unwritten rule in professional wrestling and just told the court that what we do is entertainment. And so that stopped him from being under, you know, somebody looking at him and saying, okay, well, if this isn't a sport, then we can't regulate it. So he did that for the purposes of that. And this is all when it was still WWF. But
Right.
they had the whole thing with the World Wildlife Fund, who actually had copywritten the letters WWF, and so they had to change the name. And they did it so quick, it was crazy. Because the first
Yeah.
night they did it, they had like a hardcore championship match on Raw, and the announcer was still going WWF and would, slip up and say, WWE and everything. So it was kind of crazy. As far as how it hurt or helped the sport, I think it's helped the sport a lot, because now once again we start talking about branding and marketing and stuff, and it's easy to take their wrestlers and put them on shows, morning shows, and television shows and acting shows and stuff, because everybody, with wrestling and acting, is like a gray area. So knowing that what they do is entertainment, it's easy for a casting director to say, you know what, this person, it'd be easy for them to to translate what they do into acting. So it's like an easy fix for them. It just opens up a lot of doors. Um, for hardcore old school fans, it doesn't really sit well with a lot of them. It doesn't sit well
Right.
with a lot of them, because we of course we want to be entertained, but we want to lose ourselves in the sport, in the athleticism. We don't care
Right.
about the entertainment aspect of it. We don't like for it to be called entertainment. We want it to just be called wrestling, because that's what it is to us. So, it's two sides of the same coin, but it just depends on which side of the coin you're on.
Right. Now I have two more questions, and I'll make it quick.
Hmm.
Uh, the ECW. Right. I was a guy that watched all the big three.
Yeah.
At the time. How do you feel about like the ECW? I don't even know if it's still the ECW now, if it's changed, but just the like the goriness of it, or the it seemed like it was real. Like it might have been scripted, but that chair or that cut on that barbed wire seemed
That
that was legit. So how do you feel like that product, compared to at that time the WCW, WWF, were they really putting that pressure on the other wrestling federations to really either step their game up or Was it just like a, something on the side?
No, they really did put a lot of pressure on those guys because if you look at WWE and WCW, like both of them wound up coming up with hardcore divisions. WWE's was mildly successful. WCW's was garbage, and it's just I think that product did a whole lot to just really push the narrative of professional wrestling. Any fan will tell you that the WWE Attitude Era was just ECW with more money. That's pretty much it. So, as far as the goriness and everything goes, I think that was real because that whole situation originated from Japan, and they took every the elements of what was frontier martial arts wrestling back in those days and brought it over to the States and created ECW. As far as the chair shots and all that stuff goes, you know, that stuff it was real, and there was some scripts involved, of course, but at the same time there was much more willingness to bleed because back in the 90s, in the mid 90s, wrestling was just for kids. It was just a kid show. You catered toward children because you knew that these kids would grow up to be fans, adult fans 20 years later. So what you did, you had those grown fans who were just like, we want something more, gory or something real. It was done in a niche market, a market that nobody in, the North American marketplace had tapped into. And, it was wildly successful. But then it wound up getting so big that you had to get out of a niche market and try to take this and market it to everybody, and everybody wasn't feeling ECW. So they wound up, I loved it. I loved it. I'm still RVD is a big favorite of mine. Always has been.
Taz?
Go ahead.
No, I said your boy Taz.
Oh yeah, Taz was something serious. But the thing about ECW that that WWE really tried to highlight is that a lot of their guys were not that big. Taz is like 5'7" on a good day, and so but you had all these giants, Undertaker and Kane, and all these guys who were almost 7 feet tall, and they make Taz look like a squirt, and so it was crazy, but ECW greatly influenced the current marketplace. Even though they folded, there's still organizations still going strong. Like right after they folded, they had XPW on the West Coast doing their thing. Then they got Combat Zone Wrestling, and now GCW is doing its thing. So there's a lot of ECW influence still felt in independent wrestling today.
I want to ask you a question before for Jacob asks his question. I grew up with Caprice Coleman. He was on our show earlier this year. Do you know him personally at all?
Yeah, that's my boy, man.
Okay, yeah, I grew up with him. He actually, my grandmother and his we lived right beside him as a kid. I went to high school with Caprice Coleman.
Okay, yeah. Me and Caprice did a show. I've always known him for years, man. We only really crossed paths when we did a show in Wilmington, North Carolina, about 5 or 6 years ago. That's the show where I wrestled Gunner. And I wrestled another guy, Mark James, up there. But yeah, Caprice is good people, man. Good God-fearing man.
Yeah.
Ageless wonder, man. This dude's almost 50 years old and got a body better than dudes half his age. Caprice Coleman, like if wrestling don't work, he could take the Fountain of Youth, bottle it, and sell it. Because that dude is amazing. He's a hell of a guy, man.
I know him as Alistair. That's what we call him, Alistair, as a kid. Because I remember, like I said, he used to be wrestling. We was like 4 or 5 years old. He was into it then, and I'm like, who's the little kid that just run around with all this energy? And if you'd have seen Alistair when he was a kid, by the time he got to high school, he basically looked like he was like a I don't know, like what's the little thing like Gazoo? He was so small. And then when I seen him in high school, he was just like Adonis. So I'm like, how'd you get from that to that, from elementary school to high school and whatever? It was just like crazy, the transformation he made. But yeah, I just wanted to know if you do him personally. But yeah, Jacob, you know what I'm saying? You take it away.
Okay, I got a couple questions, man.
Okay.
So I'm looking on the resume, and I posted. I tagged some people.
Right.
So my inbox said, "So Jacob, you got a pro wrestler on there. So tell me more about sexual seduction. Huh? Uh-huh.
Southside seduction.
I
Southside
said,
seduction.
Southside seduction.
Yeah.
Well, that's his that's his stage name. That's a part of his product branding.
Yeah.
She said, so when you on the show tomorrow, we need to know how he came up with that name. And so, how is that name working for you, and how is the branding purposes of that name growing?
The way that name happened, I'll tell you a really crazy story. I used to always been a big fan of wrestling for a long time. So there was a
Mhm.
guy who had a wrestler, a second generation wrestler, Sean Stasiak. His dad is a former WWE champion. Um, and so he had a gimmick in WWE called Planet Stasiak. And so I was like, if they work this right, they could probably get some good stuff out of it. So my thing at first, I was like, well, he got released and they changed his name to something else, and I was like, okay, well, I just call myself Planet Velvet. So that's why I still use Planet Velvet to this day for my business, Planet Velvet LLC. So um, I got to a show in like about an hour away from me in Covington, Georgia, Platinum Championship Wrestling. If you haven't heard of them, please check them out. They go by PCW Live now. But Platinum Championship Wrestling is an organization I think that really changed my career a whole lot. So I sat down with somebody at the show and he was like, we're into superlatives and stuff. And so we just, Planet Velvet is cool, but what does it mean? And I sat back and thought about it. I was like, you know what? I don't even know. I don't even know what it means. So
Mhm.
he said, well, why don't you, let's come up with something different for you. And I was like, okay. So I started thinking about things about myself and everything. And at this time, I'm a single man. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew a lot of women, and I used to get all kind of stuff in my inbox. So I was like, maybe I'm seducing these women that don't even know it. And then I thought about where I'm from. I was originally born in New Jersey, but I will always represent the South Side of Millersville, Georgia, Harrisburg in the building. And so I was like, South Side Seduction. I put them together. I was like, okay, South Side Seduction. And so that's kind of like my name. I'm a guy from the South Side who just has a way with the ladies. That's it.
I can dig it. I can dig it. I can dig it. That's what I'm talking about. So upon that, man, what do you think? I'm gonna give you a couple of wrestlers that I used to hear about all the time. First, the first female, the Fabulous Moolah, and what she did for the sport of female wrestling. So, and then, how do you think that she's looked at today?
The Fabulous Moolah was a champion for God knows how many years. God knows how many years. She held that championship for a long time. She pretty much monopolized women's wrestling. If you wanted to be a champion in wrestling, or you wanted to be a notable female, you had to go through her. But and that's just the back end and the
Mhm.
political and all that stuff that people don't really see. But as far as women's wrestling goes, for decades when you talked about women's wrestling, it was a Fabulous Moolah, and then it was just everybody else. Everybody was fighting for second, and it was a distant second too. And as far as how she's looked at today, with everything about wrestling coming to light, the behind the scenes stories and all that kind of stuff, um, I think that there are people who knew her that are still fighting for her legacy, and then
Mhm.
people who have heard about her who are just like a lot of people in this world are very judgmental and are saying, okay, well she's bad, bad, bad. So I think there's a lot of gray area. It's smoke and mirrors, but regardless of the fact, if you really know wrestling as a wrestler, you can't take away what she's done in the business. So
Mhm.
I won't pass judgment on her because I know the back end of wrestling, and everybody's got a story that's not so good. But
Right,
I
right.
always hold her in high regard. She's a legend in my eyes and always will be.
Okay, okay. And do you think that Double A should make the Wrestling Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's two people I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I've got a list of people I think should be in the Hall of Fame, but two people I think need individual Hall of Fame inductions. That's Double A Arn Anderson, because he doesn't really get the credit he deserves because everybody just kind of saw him as Ric Flair's right hand man and just a horseman. But Arn Anderson is probably one of the most influential wrestlers ever, especially for people down here in the South. Super influential. And as crazy as it may sound, a second person I think needs an individual Hall of Fame induction is X-Pac. I think he does. I say X-Pac needs it. Yeah, absolutely. X-Pac definitely needs it. X-Pac definitely needs it. WEX and NWO, he definitely needs that, man. He's got
with Arn, man, since he was part of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, they, of course, they're going to get in. Him and his brothers. Of course, they're going to get in. He was part of the Horsemen. They're going to get in when it was Double A, Ric Flair, Telly Blanchard, Arn Anderson. Of course, they're going to get in. But he's having a crazy time as a individual wrestler getting in. And so I don't think people is understanding what Double A did from all levels of wrestling. From the time he just had graduated college, he really stepped in and became a part of the Horsemen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he went on to hold individual championships as well. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I think that that he definitely should get in. Now, me and Steve-O was talking.
You know what? Before you say that, Jacob, I think the thing with Arn Anderson is because I think like Anthony was saying, he was like almost looked like as a sidekick, and then when his career ended, it ended kind of almost so abruptly. I think people almost forgot who he was, forgot his legacy, and forgot him. Like he got so caught up and swept in the Ric Flair, thing or whatever, that I think people kind of almost forgot who he was, and people don't realize what he does behind closed doors, behind the scenes. Like he makes a lot of stuff go, and he's very influential behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't know that. But yeah,
it don't help when your partner is Ric Flair, and Ric Flair kept going, still going to this day.
Exactly.
And he just don't have the individual accolades or the individual title runs. They didn't even earn the Intercontinental or the mid-level titles to run with. He was always entertaining. He was always somebody's enforcer. So I love Arn Anderson himself, like you said, I'm from the South. I just, if you to be on the Hall of Fame level, you had to earn the title, a few times. They had on your back.
I mean, but he did hold individual titles, not much as Ric Flair, but a few times. Without Arn Anderson, a part of the Horsemen, man, they would have been trash.
So he's part of the Horsemen. He's part of a group, but individually, Arn never had that run. That's all I'm saying. That title
all I'm saying. I'm gonna defend Arn. I think he needs to be as an individual, man.
Well, no disrespect to the man, but if Coco be working, be in the Hall of Fame, Arn Anderson could be in the Hall of Fame.
Definitely.
The reason in there because of the doors that he opened. I think Ron is the person that people leave off. Me personally.
Who?
Ron Simmons.
No, I don't think he left off though.
No, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. If any black guy that we gonna name that need to be at the top of the class when you talk about black wrestlers, I'm gonna say the Junkyard Dog. For real.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
You said that I thought he was in the Hall of Fame.
No, but what I'm saying, he is. But when you talk about black wrestlers that did a lot for the sport,
oh yeah, gotcha.
You know what I mean? You definitely need to talk about Junkyard Dog.
Oh yeah.
I think in today's day and age, I think Southern wrestling gets kind of disrespected like Southern hip hop does. Like to me, you can't, like, I'm a big hip hop fan. I grew up in New Jersey, so I'm influenced a lot by that. But I came down here in my teenage years. I came down right before LaFace started really doing their thing and stuff. And I learned about like Kilo and Raheem the Dream and all those other guys. And then, going a little further, just learned about hip hop as a whole. I learned about how influential New Orleans hip hop is on all of Southern hip hop and then hip hop elsewhere. So I do not think you can have a conversation about hip hop without talking about the South. And the same thing goes for wrestling, because you start talking about the Junkyard Dog, you start talking about, the people that Bill Watts had in the Mid South and all those other places and stuff like that. People who were highly influential, like Shaska Watley, Pez Watley,
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Conway Jr.,
Shasta
Rufus
Watley,
R.
but
Jones,
woo,
and
he
a
went
lot of
back.
those guys. Like
Yeah, he went back.
you cannot
He went
have a
back.
conversation about wrestling and
Man,
its influence without talking about Southern wrestling territories.
man, you
Can't
know
Just
do it.
like
the last time I heard the name Shaska Watley? Boy, I ain't heard
just
that
like
name in years.
I
That's
can
Yes,
crazy.
just like man, if you're gonna talk about Shaska Watley, Coco Beware, and Junkyard Dog, you got to talk about none other than Tony Atlas. For real,
that's
for
my
real.
man. And I
Yeah.
met Tony, man. Tony is I did not have a chance. Like I said, I got three people that influenced me: Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson, and Jimmy Snooker. I never got a chance to meet Snooker, but I know his son, and I talk to him all the time. Jimmy Snooker Jr. I talk to him. Never got a chance to meet Rocky Johnson, but I have met a few people from the Anawahi Samoan family. And Tony Atlas, I actually met him at a show down here, and we were talking, and we sat down and we talked, and I said, he goes, "You a wrestling fan?" I said, "No, sir. I actually wrestle. I'm just not on the show." And he's like, "Oh, you one of the boys." And when he said that, like my whole face lit up, because to have somebody that I grew up watching and wanted to be like to call me one of the boys was just big. And so I found out that he and I actually have the same first name. Our birthdays are 2 days apart, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." So he like signed his autograph for me on his book and everything, and I still got that book to this day. But once again, yeah, you cannot talk about Southern wrestling without talking about Tony Atlas too.
No, I
Right,
got
right.
a question.
So before you say just so that you mention it, if you didn't mention it, but a lot of people talk about The Rock, but a lot of people got to understand who The Rock dead was.
Yep, absolutely. Soul Man Rocky Johnson. Got
Yes,
to,
sir. Yes,
got to
sir.
talk
Yes,
about
sir.
him.
So The Rock being in it, you know what I mean? Being in it, it's just like
Yeah,
it's just like Randy Orton. That's a
absolutely.
family. That's a family legacy.
Yeah, that is
You know what I mean?
it's a good family legacy. But I've seen some kids that wrestle that have just haven't really lived up to it because they had some big shoes to fill. Like
Mhm.
God bless him, Eric Watts.
We
He tried. Eric Watts tried, but he couldn't live up to the legacy of his father, or people like Scott Putski couldn't do it. David San Martino couldn't do it. David Flair couldn't do it.
oh
So
Uh,
I
uh,
mean
or
it's
people
you know
like
that.
Barry Windham. He couldn't live up to Black Jack Mulligan legacy.
He tried, but the thing about Barry Windham is that he has his own legacy, and people really don't give him the credit for it.
Right, right,
Now
right.
he's
But
another one deserves an individual Hall of Fame induction ceremony because like once again we start talking about Southern wrestling region and stuff like that. Barry Windham was called by a lot of people as probably the most naturally gifted athlete there was. A guy that was 6'6", could move like he did, and was smooth in the ring. A lot of people really don't know how good Barry Windham was because he won a world championship so late in his career. But Barry Windham was that guy.
he but too,
let me see
like
this.
you said, he got his own legacy. But for him to fill up to his dad's shoes,
Yeah.
and them big shoes, man, them big shoes. So
Oh yeah. Definitely.
you go ahead.
Well, before we gonna take one last 30-second break, and then you can come back and ask your question.
Okay.
On 910 Sports. Okay, we back here on 910 Sports with wrestler actor Anthony Velvet Hall. Take it away, KB.
Was X Pac. So earlier the other person you said was X Pac.
Hmm.
He was one of my favorite because I grew up from watching the 1-2-3 Kid to NWO X Pac to DX X Pac. Like I was one of those guys. Like I'm surprised he's not in the Hall of Fame. You said he's not individually.
Yeah, he's in there twice with both the NWO and DX, but as an individual, he's not in there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Um, but the last question I had, which was from earlier. Now you transition from wrestling to acting, which you see a lot of guys doing now, and The Rock by far is the biggest. But was he the one who really opened that door to now when wrestlers go up to take it seriously? I mean, he might not have been the first, but now when you see these actors like you seeing him, Batista, like he's in like some real movies. You're seeing
Cena.
John Cena, you see these guys and they're really like bona fide movie stars, like, and to where they've kind of eclipsed the wrestling portion. Do you think it makes it easier when they see the wrestling on your resume to be like, oh, okay, this guy, he's legit?
Yeah, just to get back to like the first part of your question, as far as him being the first one to do it, they tried it with Hogan for years,
Oh, yeah.
and they gave him several movies, No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny. You can take from
Yeah,
those movies
that's
whatever you want to, because I mean, someone with cheese and someone with just trash. This is facts.
yeah.
But as far as me being a wrestler and doing certain things as far as acting goes, it helps out a whole lot because especially with movies that have stunts. I haven't had a chance to do any movies with like real stunts where I had to fall and all that kind of stuff. Except for like one, and that movie got shelved for other reasons. But as far as it be, me being a wrestler and stuff like that, it does help a whole lot. It helps a whole lot because, you know, thanks to Vince McMahon, what we do is considered entertainment more than it is wrestling. So that does help.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question before I'm gonna let Crystal see if she had any more. But I wanted to ask you because I've been dying to ask you these two questions when I seen your resume.
Okay.
Survivor's Remorse and the Game. You was
Mm-hmm.
on two legendary shows or whatever, especially the Game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think the Game don't really get its credit for how legendary that show has been to us as a culture. So, what was it like to be on those two shows?
Um, well, Survivor's Remorse, it wasn't Survivor's Remorse is actually a movie. You may be thinking
Okay,
about Survivor, the TV series, but Survivor's Remorse was a movie where I actually played an MMA fighter. And so,
okay,
like,
gotcha.
you see the film when it opens up is me fighting the guy in the ring. But as far as the game goes, the game was my very first acting gig. It really was. And so as far as how it goes, that's when I was doing extras work. And a lot of guys start off in acting as extras, but I wanted to get into doing more stuff because with extras, you got to pause and try to find yourself and all that kind of stuff. Like you act to be seen. So you don't want to just have to go through all the hustle and bustle. But I got lucky enough when I did the game for them to have about a good 3 or 4 seconds where they just focused on my face. And this is one where I didn't have any lines. But it was a fun experience. We shot it across the street from the Georgia Aquarium. There's a park, and we shot it over there, and then we shot it around the corner. There's like a strip of deli stores and different stuff around there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they like blocked off the whole street, and the episode I was in was when Tasha was getting ready to have a baby, and
Mm.
so TT is driving the cluck truck to the hospital. And so
Yeah.
they stop in front of a bunch of protesters, and we're like shaking the truck and all that kind of stuff, and hitting the window and everything and all this kind of stuff. And she just stops and just gives this speech about telling us to get out the way, and then we finally move and he drives off. But the experience was cool. The
Did you get to
coolest thing
meet
about
Tasha Mack and the rest of it? Because I know I
I
had a
got
friend who in the acting in like when Tyler Perry said you can't even speak to the main actors unless spoken to first. So
nah, that's yeah, that's if you do background work. And that's pretty much anywhere. Um, Only person I got a chance to meet was Hosea Chanchez, and that's the guy who plays Malik Wright. And the
okay.
only way I managed to meet him is that when we did the show, it was being filmed in I want to say October or November, and we had to make it seem like it was springtime, sand wherever in California.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's out there, in this cold weather, walking around in short sleeve shirts, and some people got on shorts, and it's cold as I don't know what. So between takes, they've got these little kerosene heaters in certain spots where everybody huddles around and stays warm. And he came over there and he talked to us, a lot of us, and he talked and everything. And so he did say a few things to me, and I laughed. I tried not to keep a lot of conversation because I wanted to just keep the set etiquette up. And so I just, I spoke a little bit to him, and that was it. But as far as like meeting a principal actor on the game, that's the only person I met.
Oh, okay. Crystal, you got any more questions before we let my man go?
No, I don't. Y'all covered it all.
Okay. So, man, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on this morning. You got a lot of accolades in the business as far as the acting and the wrestling and or whatever. So, is there any like social media or anything like that you want people to follow you at, or anything you want to plug? What got you that you might have coming up in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Three things in particular. Number one, you can find me on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Velvet478. That's the word Velvet and the numbers 478. I believe in social media. You follow me, I'll follow you. That's how networking works. Number two, I just got finished doing Fatal Attraction again in Tennessee. I believe that episode airs June 27th on TV1. So be on the lookout for that one. And the third thing, I actually do have a wrestling show coming up in July at the Anderson Conference Center in Macon, Georgia. I'll be taking on a guy by the name of D Money. So that's going to be fun as well.
Is
And
it on media?
I'm sorry?
Is it on your social media? I'm about 30 minutes from Macon, man. I'm going to come check you out.
Okay, yeah, it's on there. Yeah, if not, I mean, I'll put it up again because I just got the poster probably a week ago, but to just help promote, which is what we independent wrestlers do. We just put the posters up, and so I'll put it up again for anybody who's curious to see what's going on.
Okay. Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on this morning. It's early. You could have been anywhere. You decided to come on with us on a Sunday morning. It's hard to get a lot of people to get up on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, man. My son's birthday is tomorrow, and he want to go shoot ball with me today. So after I'm done with this, I'm gonna get me a little rest, and we gonna hit the court.
Okay, well, tell your son, say happy birthday. How old is he?
He'll be 14.
Okay, that's what's up. Is he like heavy in the sports, like high school and all that?
Yeah, he plays football. He's starting to get a thing for basketball. I went and did a show a couple of weeks ago, and he was out on the court while we're wrestling. Playing this little boy in basketball, and he hemmed him up, and I'm like, look at him. That's what I'm talking about. I got to work with him a little bit. So, I just want to. It's something that he has an interest in. He loves it, so I do not mind taking up time with him and showing him what I know, because I used to shoot ball all the time. And so I want to show him what I know and see what he knows, and we go from there. But I just, it's his birthday. I love him to death. I love him and love my daughter too. And so I just want to spend time with him.
Okay, that's what's up, man. I appreciate you coming on this morning, and you have a blessed day.
All right, man. Y'all do the same. Take care.
All right.
All right.
Yes, sir. That was Anthony Velvet Hall here, accomplished wrestler, actor. I'm glad he came on this morning. I could have went another hour with him. He had so much insight in the business and behind the scenes and what goes on. We might just have to have a show where we just have wrestlers on for a whole.
Well, actually, me and him already been talking, so he's interested in coming on the show.
Because y'all were really excited, like little kids, about wrestling. So that's why I just kept my mouth closed. I watch wrestling too, but not like y'all.
I was hurt when I found out that it was quote unquote like the fake thing. Man, I was hurt, bro. Like I had to be about 11, 12, and I said heartbroken. You couldn't tell me Mick Foley wasn't, what I'm saying, just taking that sock and sticking it down that man's throat and going from the top. And I was like into wrestling, the shirts, all that stuff. Like I was one of them kids.
See, I was a WWF fan.
I was WCW too.
No, I was WWF. Like I liked Hulk Hogan, Brutus the Beefcake, Ultimate Warrior. I think Ultimate Warrior ended up changing though. But I liked all of them. Macho Man. That's when I watched.
It was two different Ultimate Warriors. I think one of them died or something, and then they changed it up, got a new one or something. It was kind of weird.
Like I remember watching when Owen Hart died. When he that pay-per-view when he
that
fell
was
from
sad.
the I was watching it and I was like it was
Yeah, I think we had
it was crazy.
Yeah, I think I was watching.
Yeah, but HBK was my guy, man. To this day,
mine was Dusty Rose or whatever. That was my guy, Dusty
Gold
Rose.
Dust Daddy.
Huh?
Said Gold Dust Daddy.
Yeah. Like, I hated it. That almost ruined Dusty Rose's legacy. That old. Oh my God, that was terrible. But yeah, Dusty Rose was my guy. I couldn't stand Ric Flair was like being like a Carolina fan and like hating Duke. Like you know
Right.
how good he was.
I hated Ric Flair.
But you still hated him. But
like,
you know what I'm saying? Like
me a Coach K and Duke. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. But and my favorite tag team was the Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors. You couldn't tell
I
me.
love the Road Warriors.
You couldn't tell me Animal and Hulk. Man, they come out with them spike joints on.
Hey,
And,
you know one of their sons played football at Kennesaw State.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like that too, like big and fast. Like dude was a monster. Yeah, he wrestling now.
And I love the Sting from NWO when he came down like the Crow. Man,
that black and white paint.
Yeah. Man, it was so much, man. Like I said, wrestling is so watered down because it's almost like the rap game. They done saturated the rap game so bad, where so many different rappers. That's how wrestling guys. Too many wrestlers that they trying to promote at one time. You know, back in the day, they had their core wrestlers that they kind of promoted, and everybody else was fillers. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. And I think now they got too many wrestlers they trying to promote at one time. You know what I'm saying? That you kind of, you know what I'm saying?
My son be on it, man, and he's still watching to today. We actually driving up to Tennessee to go to the thing.
Okay. That was it. We gonna definitely get up, Steve, when I get down. Cause me and you, we all into the same things. And like when I was down there last time, most of the people I hung around with, we was cool, but we wasn't all into the same thing. Me and you in everything the same. We're basketball, football, wrestling. So we definitely gonna have to make some road trips and stuff to do some stuff.
Yeah, but what I was saying, me and Anthony talked, and he's game to come on the network and do a show just about wrestling.
Yeah, man, because there's so much history with it. That's the thing. There's so much history with it that you actually need a whole show to really sit down and break down. Because, like he said, there's so much understories and backstories of how they went from NWA to WCW to WWF to WWE. It's so many backstories that people don't really know and don't understand why they had to do it and what went on behind the scenes that some of these wrestlers know and really, could break down it. And you could go on and on and on and years with it or whatever. But anyway, man, y'all, another great show. You know what I'm saying? Y'all did a great job over the week. I'm sorry, I hate I couldn't stay on, but I was like literally driving through New Mexico, so I ain't had no service. And when I did have, and I was in an Amazon truck, so even when I had service, I couldn't hear nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever. So I just like, you know what? I just leave my little comments. But y'all did such a great job. I felt like I was watching Mel Kiper and them boys. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to y'all just as much as I was listening to them on the and when y'all were analyzing each player and each team. Like y'all, I ain't gonna lie, y'all really got something. Y'all really know y'all stuff. Because the way y'all was breaking down them games and those players, I would have thought I was actually listening to ESPN and them how they break down the games. Break down the players. I
feels like another one.
I really mean that. You know what I'm saying? So y'all
like another one.
Y'all keep going because you know what I mean, because y'all definitely got something for real. You know what I'm saying? Next year when y'all do it, I ain't even gonna go get on. I'm just gonna let y'all have it.
Yeah,
I couldn't even compete with what y'all were going. What y'all
hey, KB and Steve and that Bernie Mac boy, Lord have mercy.
Man, I love talking football and especially college pros, man. It's just.
But let me end the show real quick. We'll talk real quick after the thing. Let me end it real quick. So everybody, peace and blessings out there. Down with those sports. See y'all the next episode.
Peace.